Timer started. I mean, if I could get like 6, just because I want to do a brief timeout, it would be appreciated. But just before I'm starting, I do want to call a timeout. Like I do want to kind of just hold space before we get started, because I know I've had this kind of conversation with Monica at the start of this. Clearly, as we're having more conversation, I wanted to take a timeout. I talked to Christy, but like just when we're going into something like this, I just wanted to kind of hold space and just say plainly my respect and affection for all of you. Like that just, it doesn't change through this process. Like I aspire for us to have relationships where we can have deep and meaningful and even like hard conversations, because that's like reflective of that higher level work. And so like before we get started, I just wanted to say that. With that being said, like the parts I would like to say is the one part I want to do is just returning our work to that outward focus though at the same time. Like, as you may have seen in my email that I sent about 30 minutes ago, like I'm here not just for an interview slot. Like I just feel like we have actually gone quite wayward from our processes at this point. I want to make sure, like my experience on the board, my experience working with other nonprofits and other boards, like I'm very aware of just how far we've deviated away from that. I'm hoping to use my experiences, because I feel like if this is happening and this is my experience, I'm concerned that there are others who are unaware and being equally impacted. And like clearly this started in the nominations and elections process. And nominations and elections process is clearly principled in inclusivity and outreach. And we have many documents that I have included in there, but just to say plainly, that I am a qualified candidate. I am full-time employed as a school counselor. I've been practicing for 14 years. I have a certificate. I am a professional member of ASCA. I am a leadership specialist, as many of you are. And I even cited the course to you last time. And I had all these documents in at time to be a qualified candidate. And that is how we define qualified candidates. And so additional definitions after the fact is unfortunate and not in our written documents. And there are many other things too. When it comes to our exclusionary criteria, we discuss this as a board, and that's why we changed our application to focus on academic or in the response integrity exclusively, and add that into the application, while also adding in pretty clearly that we are not going to be exclusionary. We are going to find the most qualified candidates and do this actively. And then in addition to that, to make sure we as a board are doing these things, again, we ask for responses to the emails we send when it comes to outreach. Like in addition to this, like I'm not just feeling like we're deviating from like an ASCA standpoint, like just plainly, this is not a personal attack on any individual, but like clearly there are problems with our leadership this year. And this was most demonstrated through the ongoing conversation we've had since our first board meeting about ebony and ivory, or harmony. And what I list in there as a breakdown is you can see that although I broached the concern in October, in the narrative thread in the emails, it seems that there was probably a concern broached by Priscilla in the exchange between Priscilla and Christy that probably occurred in September that could have addressed this even earlier. And just frankly, since then, we have spent probably thousands of dollars in things like delays or reprints, and also in our entire February board meeting where we set to mediate and work through this, when it sounded like at the end, when we got through those 2 days, the primary focus of the conversation was between the chair, the assistant chair, and one of our sitting directors, leaving most of us both unaware and uninvolved to this whole board work through multiple board days. One of the biggest concerns in that exchange is just frankly, the chair, you in the November 2nd email and in my own correspondence, keeps on saying how by talk to consultants, but all this happened without talking to the board. And frankly, the information that was shared with me from the consultants was inaccurate and was not presented to the consultants authentically when I followed up with them, which has me concerned that the board is not receiving accurate directions when it comes to things like our legal representation and advice. Just plainly in this own process right now, that started with legal representation and advice, none of us have been presented with an agenda, I have not been, or you as a board have not been presented with my rights or the process through this, and it was offered as an appeal that I've been told after the fact is not an appeal, but was plainly stated in our common understood purpose for the meeting last time. There's disclarity and lack of focus when it comes to these meeting pieces. Finally, just in addition to that, I appreciate that.
Can I just, because I think, because he did that little piece in the beginning, he did ask if he could have, sorry, Monica, can he have that extra minute that he asked for?
Thank you. I'm deeply saddened that we've gotten to this point. I feel like there's so much important work that's done. In my anti-racist work, anti-oppression work, when we do trainings like this, we ask people to tell the story out loud. And like right now, the story we're telling out loud about our organization is that we had a highly qualified candidate who had pneumonia, who didn't respond, and we disqualified them, different from past year's practices. That we offered appeal, and after the fact, had an impartial, did have a biased appeal because everyone voted, and then said it was an appeal after the fact. And we have spent possibly thousands of dollars on inward focus when we as a profession have been called a radical ideology. And this is the public story we're telling about the association right now. I'm just asking all of you, are you going to be okay if that's the story that is being told about ASCA right now? That's the end of my time. I am just, again, grateful for your time. I appreciate that we're having this tough conversation, and I'll receive any questions that you have.
This is Christy. Make sure you say your name before the question for the interpreter. Seeing as how there are none, thank you, Steve, and I will be following. I'll follow up. Okay.
All right. I appreciate the time, everyone. Again, all the information is available for you to read in depth too. Thank you.
Thank you.